Welcome, dear listeners, to History with Herodotus, where we embark on a journey through the annals of time to unravel the mysteries of our shared past. Today, we find ourselves standing at the threshold of one of the most pivotal events in modern history, the Great Depression. This cataclysmic phenomenon, which ravaged the global economy and left an indelible mark on human experience, is a tale of complexity, of intrigue, and of profound transformation. As we delve into the origins of this epochal event, let us first set our gaze upon the landscape of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Industrial Revolution had transformed the global economy, creating new opportunities for growth and prosperity. However, it also led to increased income inequality, as the wealthy elite amassed vast fortunes while the working class struggled to make ends meet. The seeds of discontent were sown, and the stage was set for a calamity that would shake the very foundations of modern society. In the years leading up to the Great Depression, the global economy experienced a series of warning signs, which were largely ignored. The stock market had experienced a significant boom in the late 1920s, with prices rising to unsustainable levels. The introduction of margin buying, which allowed investors to purchase stocks on credit, had fueled the speculation, as people bought stocks hoping to sell them at a higher price later. The average price-to-earnings ratio of stocks on the New York Stock Exchange had risen to a staggering 31, more than double the historical average. The banking system, which was largely unregulated at the time, had also played a significant role in the lead-up to the Great Depression. Many banks had invested heavily in the stock market, and when the market began to decline, they found themselves with large losses. The collapse of the banking system would have far-reaching consequences, as people lost confidence in the financial institutions and began to withdraw their savings, leading to a credit crisis. On October 29, 1929, also known as Black Tuesday, the stock market crashed, wiping out millions of dollars in investments and sending shockwaves through the global economy. The crash was triggered by a combination of factors, including overproduction, underconsumption, and a decline in international trade. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, passed by the United States Congress in June 1930, would further exacerbate the economic downturn as countries retreated behind barriers of tariffs and trade restrictions. Key figures, such as President Herbert Hoover, who was elected in 1928, and the Federal Reserve Chairman, Benjamin Strong, had attempted to mitigate the effects of the economic downturn. However, their efforts were largely ineffective, and the economy continued to decline. The Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which was signed into law by President Hoover on June 17, 1930, would prove to be a disastrous policy, as it led to retaliatory measures from other countries and further reduced global trade. As we explore the earliest history of the Great Depression, we find ourselves in the midst of a perfect storm of economic instability. The reckless speculation of the Roaring Twenties, the unregulated banking system, and the protectionist policies of the time had all contributed to the creation of a toxic economic environment. The seeds of disaster had been sown, and the stage was set for a calamity that would shake the very foundations of modern society. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we continue our journey through the annals of time to unravel the mysteries of the Great Depression. As we venture into the heart of this pivotal event, we find ourselves in a world where economic instability had become the norm. The global economy was in free fall, and the consequences were far-reaching. In the early 1930s, the world witnessed an unprecedented level of poverty and desperation. Unemployment rates soared, with some countries experiencing levels as high as 30%. The once thriving industrial centers were now mere shadows of their former selves, with factories standing idle and workers struggling to make ends meet. The streets were filled with the sounds of shantytowns, known as Hoovervilles, where families lived in makeshift homes, struggling to survive. Despite the overwhelming challenges, this period also saw an outpouring of creativity, innovation, and resilience. Artists, writers, and musicians responded to the crisis with works that reflected the mood of the times. The likes of John Steinbeck, Ernest Hemingway, and Woody Guthrie created masterpieces that captured the essence of the human experience during this tumultuous period. Their works not only provided a voice for the voiceless, but also helped to shape the national consciousness. The New Deal, a series of programs and policies introduced by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1933, marked a significant turning point in the history of the Great Depression. This comprehensive plan aimed to provide relief, recovery, and reform to those affected by the economic downturn. The Works Progress Administration, the Civilian Conservation Corps, and the National Recovery Administration were just a few of the many programs that put millions of Americans back to work, rebuilding infrastructure, conserving natural resources, and promoting economic growth. The impact of these programs was not limited to the economy alone. They also had a profound effect on American culture, as people from all walks of life came together to rebuild their communities. The Federal Theater Project, for example, brought live performances to audiences across the country, while the Federal Art Project employed artists to create murals, sculptures, and paintings that reflected the American experience. As we explore this period, we find ourselves in awe of the human spirit's capacity for resilience and adaptation. From the Bonus Army March on Washington, D.C., to the rise of labor unions, people were determined to make their voices heard and fight for a better future. The Great Depression was not just an economic event. It was a transformative moment in American history, one that reshaped the nation's social, cultural, and economic landscape. Welcome back to History with Herodotus, where we continue our journey through the annals of time to unravel the mysteries of the Great Depression. As we explore the decline and eventual recovery from this pivotal event, we find ourselves in a world where economic stability was slowly being restored. The late 1930s saw a gradual improvement in the global economy, with unemployment rates beginning to fall and industrial production increasing. The New Deal programs, introduced by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, had played a significant role in stimulating economic growth and providing relief to those affected by the Depression. The Works Progress Administration, the Civilian Conservation Corps, and the National Recovery Administration had put millions of Americans back to work, rebuilding infrastructure, conserving natural resources, and promoting economic growth. However, the recovery was not without its challenges. The economy experienced a recession in 1937 and 1938, which slowed down the pace of recovery. Additionally, the rise of fascist and nationalist ideologies in Europe and Asia posed a significant threat to global stability. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 marked a turning point in the history of the Great Depression, as the war effort mobilized industries and created new jobs, helping to finally bring an end to the economic downturn. The post-war period saw a new era of prosperity emerge, with the United States experiencing unprecedented economic growth. The GI Bill, which provided education and training benefits to returning veterans, helped to create a highly skilled workforce, while the Federal Housing Administration and the Veterans Administration helped to stimulate the housing market. Consumer culture began to take hold, with Americans enjoying newfound prosperity and purchasing power. However, the legacy of the Great Depression also included ongoing struggles for economic justice. The Civil Rights Movement, which gained momentum in the 1950s and 1960s, highlighted the persistent disparities in economic opportunities and outcomes faced by African Americans. The labor movement continued to push for better wages, benefits, and working conditions, while the feminist movement fought for equal pay and economic empowerment for women. As we reflect on the legacy of the Great Depression, we are reminded that its impact was not limited to the economy alone. It had a profound effect on American culture, politics, and society, shaping the nation's social, cultural, and economic landscape in lasting ways. In the words of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little. The Great Depression may be a chapter in history, but its lessons continue to resonate with us today. In conclusion, our journey through the annals of time has revealed the complexities and nuances of the Great Depression, from its causes and consequences to its legacy and impact on modern society. We have seen how this pivotal event shaped the course of human history, influencing economic policies, cultural norms, and social justice movements. As we move forward in our own times, we would do well to remember the lessons of the Great Depression, striving for a more just and equitable society, where all individuals have access to opportunities and resources that allow them to thrive. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that to understand the present, we must first understand the past.